Without the Pacific Regional Navigation Initiative, this work simply wouldn't have been possible. It's an invaluable piece of work that will support our Pacific Island countries in their global trade and other ventures, including tourism and managing the marine environment. The Pacific Regional Navigation Initiative work would not have been as successful as it has been, however, without the collaboration and partnerships of everyone involved. As always, it is about the people and the connections that we make. He tangata, he tangata, he tangata. We have worked with the Pacific Island countries with help from MFAT, and I'm really impressed by the level of professionalism and dedication that has been shown through this project, through the reports about its progress. The work in the countries has been greatly supported by the New Zealand High Commissions, thank you, who have supported us to organise meetings and ensure we meet the right people. And so thank you to MFAT, the Pacific Island countries, and our Toitu Te Whenua people for taking the time to come together today to acknowledge World Hydrography Day and the PRNI and celebrate success. It is a real pleasure to see you all here, to recognise a great piece of work, to take a breath and actually acknowledge what we have achieved in this busy life that is very important, and this will have lasting benefits to our Pacific Island neighbours. This is the most challenging part of my speech, which is to say farewell in the Pacific Island nations' languages. Me taki ma'ata, that's Cook Island. Whakaoe lahi oe tulo, Niuean. Whaawhitai lava, Samoan. Whaawhitai lahilele, Tokelau. And ma'a o pito, Tongan. I hope that was intelligible to native speakers of those languages. Thank you very much, team, and I'll now hand over to the video from the Honourable Damien O'Connor.
Tēnā koutou, I tēnei ata. Good morning to you all. It's a pleasure to join you all to celebrate World Hydrography Day and the Pacific Regional Navigation Initiative. I'd like to acknowledge Gai Saranki, Toitu Te Whenua, Land Information New Zealand Chief Executive. Today's celebration is about the key theme of World Hydrography Day, 100 years of international cooperation in hydrography, and the Pacific Regional Navigation Initiative that has been going on over the last 6 years. As Minister for Land Information and Trade and Export Growth, I am keenly aware of the positive impact hydrography has on our nation and the important role it has for not only us, but for those we partner with. Over 90% of global trade is by sea, and hydrography enables vessels to safely navigate New Zealand waters, supporting our New Zealand economy. Without it, we wouldn't have such great coffee on offer. We're able to map seabed habits to better understand, manage and monitor impacts on New Zealand's marine estate. This supports our communities and decision makers in research, aquaculture development and coastal resilience, which is vital for us as an island nation. New Zealand has obligations regarding maritime safety under the International Safety of Life at Sea Convention, and we support Pacific countries to meet their obligations under the Convention. The partnership across central government to successfully carry out this work is a great achievement and one that we celebrate today. Across LINZ, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Trade and Maritime New Zealand, you have contributed to improve Pacific maritime safety through hydrographic surveys and updated maritime charts, to name a few initiatives. You have supported economic growth for Pacific nations. I'm thrilled to see the level of commitment and work that has gone into the initiative and the positive impacts it has had on our Pacific Island neighbours. Congratulations to you all for your efforts, and I look forward to seeing the lasting positive impacts this work will have now and into the future. E hara tāku toa, e te toa takitahi, engara kehe toa takatini. My success should not be bestowed onto me alone. It was not individual success, but the success of a collective.
So thank you to the Minister. Stole some of my lines actually, but anyway, however, we'll just run with it. Tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa, ko Adam Greenland aho. Welcome everybody to World Hydrography Day 2021. It's also 100 years celebration for the International Hydrographic Organization, who 100 years ago were formed in Monaco. So New Zealand has been a member of the International Hydrographic Organization for some 60 years now and was one of the original members. And hydrography initially was the responsibility of the Royal New Zealand Navy and by LINZ, the New Zealand Hydrographic Authority, since 1996, some 25 years ago. World Hydrography Day 2021 theme is 100 years of international cooperation in hydrography. And what I wanted to share with you was the achievements of the Pacific Regional Navigation Initiative. So first of all, I just wanted to talk about our role as a hydrographic office and our traditional role in terms of safety of navigation. And the Minister has pretty well covered that, I think, because he mentioned the coffee that you get that is transported around the world. Our role is the Civil Hydrography Programme, and we conduct hydrographic surveys and produce safety information, including tide predictions. And we produce, maintain and distribute nautical charts. And in the New Zealand folio, there are some 200 plus paper charts, traditional paper charts, and some 300 ENCs now within the whole New Zealand folio. But importantly, you can see from that diagram the coverage. So our coverage in terms of our charting extends into the Pacific, New Zealand, and then down into Antarctica as well. So the focus for PRNI is those Pacific Island countries. And so PRNI, what is it? Pacific Regional Navigation Initiative. So it's an activity that is funded through the MFAT New Zealand Aid Programme, and essentially it's a collaboration. And so whilst LINZ was leading in some parts, other organisations also contributed to the outcomes, to achieving the outcomes. The goal then, safe, reliable transport services in the Pacific that connect people to markets and services. There's also two long-term outcomes regarding economic activity and safety. So economic development is supported through the the marine transport of people and goods. And the safer Pacific maritime transport that supports the well-being of all people and protects the environment. So that's PRNI. So there's 5 outputs for PRNI, whilst I won't read them out, I'll comment on 1 or 2. So the data discovery, that was led through the Pacific community, and we're grateful for SPC for delivering that component. Risk assessment, that employed a novel risk assessment, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But essentially, as I've said, and I think has been stated by the previous speakers, it really is a story to be proud of in terms of collaboration and cooperation. For MFAT, for the High Commissions, the Post, in terms of the regional partners in this Pacific community, and international organisations as well, including the IHO, and regionally the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission, and also other hydrographic offices. So in the region, there are any one number of programmes that are being delivered bilaterally through donors or multilaterally, and we managed to engage with these different programmes to get the best then for our programme and delivery of that to achieve the outcomes, which is for PRNI. And they do say, if you travel alone, you travel faster, but if you travel together, you travel further, and that's very much so. So here they are then, here's the stats, 6 years of dedication and work by all the partners. 17 country visits there, which I don't know if that's a record or not, but certainly that was a major part of the programme in terms of engagement with the Pacific Island countries. And also you can see there the number of charts that have been replaced and the new charts, and also importantly the new electronic charts. Electronic charts are important because you'll see from some slides I have that the existing charts were fathoms charts over 100 years old and on undetermined datums. And so those charts could not be used on modern day international trading vessels on their computer systems on board the bridge. So they had to have ENCs. So there was no way that cruise ships and cruise tourism could expand into those countries. So just a little deeper into what we found. And in terms of the risk assessment, this is a novel risk assessment that had been developed in our region and has been adopted around the world by other hydrographic offices. And you can see there an old chart of some 100 years old. And what we do is we put the traffic on there. So that's actual vessel traffic. And what those show is the traffic lines, the transit lines for the domestic ferries. And you can see in the middle there is a little blue dot. Well, that is a hazard, and that's shown at about 2.5 fathoms, which let's call it about 5 meters in water depth if you convert that. So when we did the survey, you can see there that we actually located this fathom, this hazard, and the depth was less, 3 meters depth and 1 kilometer distant from its charted position. So I think you can say that the older charts did pretty well for 100 years plus, but with newer vessels and with limited under-keel clearance and with the amount of people travelling on these domestic ferries, it's important to get this right and have that hazard accurately positioned. So immediately a notice to mariners went out, which is a safety notice, and a new chart is planned. So that's the new ENC. So I also wanted to talk a little bit about the technologies we were using, again, as one of the world's first in using satellite-derived bathymetry and airborne laser bathymetry and multi-beam systems. So the satellite-derived bathymetry is an optical technique, pretty coarse, but gives us an initial understanding of the water depths and can be used, if there's no other data. That helped us refine the program and the survey coverage for the laser, which was the airborne laser bathymetry work in Niue. And then on from that, we had a multi-beam system, which is the traditional acoustic techniques, and that's in Tonga. And interestingly enough, that autonomous survey vehicle is the first time that vehicle has been used worldwide. So I think a number of firsts there for the PRNI program. So a quick look at the charts and the chart improvements. There's you can see the chart there working on the left-hand side, Namuka, Tonga, and that's an ENC, which is published now. The previous fathoms chart, as I say, was 1889. Niue, Beveridge Reef, that was conducted by airborne laser bathymetry, so from a fixed-wing aircraft. And the only chart of that important environmentally sensitive area was a recreational yachting chart. And I think, if I'm correct, I think the previous representation of Beveridge Reef was on a very small scale chart, which was at least 1.5 million or 3 million. Yeah, so hardly a blip. But now the area, given the data, can be charted, but also it can be properly managed for its habitat and protected as well. So virtually the final slide now, but I just wanted to also bring to your attention the data fusion that has been done. So marine geospatial information is important in terms of charting, but also in terms of blue economy and in terms of protection environment. So there was data that was made discoverable and available to us through the Samoa government, which was a LiDAR climate resilience survey that was conducted in 2015. So we were able to use that data, repurpose it, in addition to multi-beam data that we collected for PRNI, we are able to then join those two data sets together, and that will go in then to the new chart. So I'd just like to say a big thank you to my colleagues who have worked very hard within the New Zealand Hydrographic Authority over the last so many years now in doing the trips, but also in doing the cartography and in processing through the survey. All the collaboration we've had, because we couldn't have done it alone, in terms of international, regional cooperation and collaboration, but also from the UKHO as well, and other hydrographic offices through the Southwest Pacific Hydrographic Commission. Nā reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā tātou katoa. Thank you.